Our planet's voyage around the sun has governed the lives of animals and the plants on which they depend for millions of years. Changing seasons force vast numbers of animals to undertake journeys of incredible distance, journeys that test their stamina, journeys that lead to fertile lands where they can multiply. The great migrations, such as this of the East African wildebeest, overwhelm the imagination with their enormous numbers and the fantastic distances covered. But even within a massive horde of migrating animals, it is up to each individual to find the strength to overcome the dangers that lie ahead. The great journeys are filled with challenge and the struggle to keep moving forward despite the peril. All over our restless world, animals are on the move. Wherever they live, predators and prey cross paths in an endless dance of life and death. Hidden highways in the sea mirror spectacular flyways in the sky. Extraordinary voyages, traveling in enormous numbers, inspire us to ask how they find their way and why they persist. The great journeys are some of wildlife's greatest mysteries. On the East African savanna, life is governed by the rains. The dry season is approaching. It will be a lean time for the lion prides of the Serengeti. They are not long-distance travelers, and they remain behind as 1.5 million wildebeests set off to travel toward the grasslands where rain has fallen. For weeks, these plains were crowded with grazers feeding on the ready supply of grass. Now the last of the grass is dying. The huge army of wildebeest follows the subtle scent of rain. The fresh, moist smell means there's new grass to be found, though it is many miles away. The plains empty quickly as the wildebeest head for Lake Victoria and north into Kenya's Masai Mara. Herds of wildebeest have followed this same route for thousands of years. This journey will cover 1,900 miles. But these are not the only African animals to migrate with the seasons. In southern Africa, wildebeest and elephants leave the lakes and rivers where they found refuge in the dry season and head out onto the plains in search of rain and new grass. As broad regions of Africa have become drier over time, the elephant's trek has grown longer, year by year. And when the rains end, the elephants must make their way back to the woodlands and rivers. On other continents too, seasonal journeys are underway. The return of the sun above the Arctic horizon brings light and warmth. Slowly the door to this world is opening. An Arctic fox has survived the winter on rodents and carrion. Daylight heralds the arrival of better fare from the south as the temperature slowly rises. Weeks before this icy wilderness began to thaw, an invasion was launched from a takeoff point thousands of miles away. Snow geese by the million wing their way from the American South towards the Arctic, where they'll nest. To all who see them go, the dramatic departure is a vivid sign of spring. Their bodies are streamlined to cut through the air. Their bones are hollow and light, and their muscles deliver maximum power to bodies of minimum weight for their size. Such aerodynamic prowess enables the snow geese to journey 3,500 miles. There's a strict timetable for this flight. The birds must arrive in time to make the best possible use of the brief Arctic summer. The beating of the birds' wings assists their breathing, one reason the geese can fly such great distances without getting tired. Huge flocks of snow geese head north along North America's east coast. Other flocks originate farther south. Thousands of wading birds converge on the east coast, including redknots from Argentina. At the Chesapeake and Delaware Bays, two massive populations are destined to meet. The redknots have traveled nearly 6,000 miles, and they are ready to feed again. Their food is about to come out of the sea. This is a horseshoe crab, a prehistoric-looking creature virtually unchanged since the time of the dinosaurs. Each May, it rides in on the highest tides to deposit its eggs in the sand. They are not true crabs, but arachnids, relatives of the scorpions and spiders. And they lay and fertilize their eggs as they have for 300 million years, since before birds existed. Each female horseshoe crab deposits some 80,000 nutritious eggs, but by no means all will survive and hatch. This may be an armored invasion, but that doesn't deter gulls, sanderlings, plovers, turnstones, and redknots by the million. The wave-battered ranks of horseshoe crabs lay more than enough eggs to satisfy the ravenous shorebirds. And the eggs are so nutritious that birds can double their own weight in 2 weeks of feasting here. This rendezvous is no coincidence. It's a synchronized meeting of migrants that has evolved over millions of years. The birds are now ready to travel the next 3,000 miles. Most of them will survive their extraordinary journey. But many of their unwitting benefactors remain capsized by the waves, their task accomplished. Snow geese sense the lengthening daylight, and the change propels them onward towards their Arctic breeding grounds. The birds find their way by using an array of cues, the positions of the sun and moon, landmarks, and even changes in the Earth's magnetism. It's a migration that has grown longer and longer over the last 11,000 years. As the glaciers retreated, the birds had to fly farther north each year to find the tundra where they lay their eggs. Northern Canada is beginning to thaw. Beyond these most northerly trees on the continent lies the open landscape of deep frozen tundra. Quite soon the geese will feed and lay their eggs where grasses take over from winter snow. Their epic journey complete, they can rest at last. The geese are a welcome sight and sound to the Arctic fox. Suddenly there is the promise of new life. Goslings for the geese. Food for the fox. If it can, the fox will steal the eggs. The fox will bury his prize. The parents seem distressed by the loss. They will quickly lay again. Their race against time is on if young geese are to be ready to leave before the first hint of autumn cold. To the east, in Greenland, barnacle geese lay their eggs in relative safety, 500 feet up on an isolated ledge. When the goslings hatch, they are hidden. But they're still an easy target for falcons or gulls. And although only hours old, the chicks must leave their lofty haven. There's no food here. But how to get down? There's only one way, and that is to jump. In the perpetual daylight of the Arctic summer, the chick can't fly. Only instinct and parental encouragement can persuade them to make this leap into space. Incredibly, the lightweight chicks can bounce and survive. Foxes below. Gulls above lost to a fox. 3 have survived to set off on their next journey. A molted feather is a clue to an even stranger phenomenon in Iceland. The river Thjossa flows through the heart of this rugged and virtually inaccessible landscape. What could lure predatory seabirds so far inland? The answer, pink-footed geese, summer migrants from Scotland. At this time of year, neither they nor their goslings can fly. The adults must molt all their worn feathers at once. They'll need a full new set to fly with. For the Arctic skua, these geese are sitting targets. There's nowhere they can go to escape the aerial predator. Birds that are powerful flyers, able to travel great distances, are suddenly grounded and vulnerable. Marauding skuas single out helpless stragglers. These travelers will be plundered until their feathers are fully grown. By the end of June, the overland tide of wildebeest has swept north to the long grass and woodland of the Masai Mara. They pause along the traditional routes their ancestors traveled to feed and drink. Yearling males spar together. They've left their mothers and will become part of a bachelor herd. Adult bulls become very territorial. Territories are held for only hours at a time by these migrants, but they proclaim their ownership and defend new boundaries in flamboyant style. One wildebeest bows submissively to a stronger challenger. Any male that can establish his ground stands ready to locate females and mate. For these animals, the females will come to those that wait. The male takes no interest in them. The challenger takes off, but it doesn't hurt to make sure he's gone for good. The victorious male... In the Pacific Ocean, male humpback whales announce themselves to females with a song. But they're also warning off rivals. A solitary male must wait for a female to come by. Humpbacks come to these tropical waters every winter. The males are looking for mates, and some of the females will bear their young in the warm sea. None of the adults feed here. There's little to eat in these tropical waters. They live on their body fat, energy that sustains them for a 6,000-mile round trip, one of the longest migrations of any mammal. As the return journey north begins, those females that have given birth must shepherd their calves, suckling them as they travel. All the humpbacks sense that it is time to move to their summer feeding grounds. With breeding over, the lengthening days of spring and their ability to sense the Earth's magnetic pull guide them along the way. 3,000 miles of ocean lie ahead. From the warm Pacific off the coast of Mexico and Guatemala, the humpbacks follow the coastal waters of North America towards the cold seas off Alaska, where fish and krill will be abundant. They will journey without pause, night and day. On the way, they'll cross the paths of many fellow travelers. These are spinner dolphins, spectacular leapers, setting out for deeper waters to hunt at night. Scalloped hammerhead sharks are also on course for a night hunting ground. By day, the female hammerheads have gathered in a mysterious circular ritual to take refuge together until night falls. Then they will set out to hunt. During daylight hours, even this extraordinary ball of fish is of no interest to the hammerhead. This shoal of fish could even be mistaken for a whale. The common dolphins have herded the frightened fish together, making them easier to catch. And marlin are ready to benefit from the dolphins' work. "500 feet below, oblivious to the weather, the humpback whales are thrusting north to the Gulf of Alaska. They surface to breathe when necessary. Humpbacks are the giants of the sea, up to 40 feet in length. They are also some of the most intelligent of the animal voyagers. Hungry after their 3,000-mile journey, they soon set about feeding. Their technique is known as bubble netting. First, they dive deep under the fish they are hunting. The old whalers call these sea canaries, ghostly shapes haunting the summer waters. Their calls echo around the estuaries of Alaskan and Canadian rivers. They are beluga whales, and they've been known to swim 400 miles up the Yukon River. The fresh water is warmer, more comfortable for their growing calves. Along the journey, the adult belugas molt, shedding old skin for new by scraping against the gravel. At just a ton in weight, they are small creatures compared with the humpbacks. And these whales have teeth. They return to the sea to feed on squid, shrimp, and other seafood. Along this Alaskan coast, an estuary is the target for some very long-distance swimmers. From feeding grounds some 1,400 miles out in the Pacific come the sockeye salmon. Selecting by smell the water of the river in which they were spawned, the fish crowd into the estuary. In the longest rivers, they may still have 1,900 miles hard swimming to reach their breeding ground. Other travelers are familiar with the strict annual timetable of the salmon. Grizzly bears find their way here from 160 miles away. The salmon mass together below waterfalls, gathering strength before the long struggle upstream to overcome the river's strong flow. And the bears long ago learned to anticipate the arrival of the fish. Memory and a kind of internal guidance system that acts as a compass has brought the bears here. The paths of two skilled navigators cross. The bears have come to know this as a river where salmon leap right into their paws. Well, almost. For the youngest bears, it's not an easy catch. This is an extraordinary congregation of bears. Usually they would be more aggressive towards each other. But they have weight to put on. All their attention is on the food they need to survive the next winter. Like Delaware Bay, where migrating birds and horseshoe crabs cross paths, this is a place where two great journeys intersect. Even the adults can find the salmon a slippery challenge. There's danger when the bears squabble over a catch. Two cubs have fallen in, and their mother goes after them. With luck, they'll be swept into shallow water. There are far more fish passing by than the bears need, and what is mere caviar to them is really the future of the salmon. Many fish are lost, but thousands more continue to struggle upstream. As the sockeye salmon travel, they undergo remarkable changes. They've had to adapt to fresh water again after 4 years at sea. And they are no longer feeding as they finally reach the breeding season. Bald eagles rely on the run of breeding salmon as much as the grizzlies do. They look for the places where the fish congregate. Males and females change shape and color on this journey, developing elongated jaws and a humped back. The jaws and teeth are bigger in the males. They must battle for the right to fertilize a female's eggs. The most powerful males will mate with more females at their final destination. In these shallow waters, male and female consort in the gravel scrape excavated by the female. She lays between 2,000 and 4,000 eggs, her investment in the future of her kind. He fertilizes them with his milt and leaves to find another female. Finally, exhausted from traveling and breeding, the parents die in thousands, leaving only their eggs to develop among the gravel. The bald eagles and grizzly bears and other hunters along the river have profited from this highway's traffic. Now the season is turning. The short northern summer is over. There is still food to be had. Salmon that never got here in time or that never made it upriver. The last salmon runs of the season are crucial to the lives of the eagles. At the mouth of the Chilkat River, the bald eagles gather in hundreds for a final fattening meal before the biting cold locks the water under ice and burdens the land with snow. Winter comes to Alaska, and the stormiest time of the year begins in the Caribbean. It's hurricane season. Spiny lobsters, refugees from the approaching storms, head for deeper water, beyond their lagoon, over the edge of the coral reef. As the water above turns turbulent, the lobsters set off on a march to safety. They must get out while the going is good. Some latecomers want to break into the line. This is an exodus, crustacean style, a bizarre sight even among the wonders of the reef. Over the edge they go, to safety for all. Tail gunner has little ammunition to fend off the attack. There's danger close by on almost every migration, whether it's a search for safety, a place to breed, or food. Wending their way south now towards the Serengeti in Tanzania, the East African wildebeest are responding to the coming of the rains and the promise of fresh grass. Will nourish them also. For a newborn wildebeest, speed is the key to survival. It must be on its feet within a couple of minutes and ready to run within 5 in order to survive even the first hours of its life. This calf is approaching the wrong mother and gets headbutted for the error. For these critical days, the journey comes to a halt. Some 400,000 calves are born in just 2 short weeks. It's far more than any predator can destroy. Already, calf and mother are getting to know each other's smell. The calf's legs strengthen by the minute. It must find its only source of food. Newborns are soon ready to face the trials of living on the savannah. Impatient among so many young animals, silverback jackals are ready to do their own hunting rather than wait to scavenge someone else's kill. But jackals are wary of a parent. A mother will defend her calf vigorously. A cheetah is the greyhound among cats. The herd can never relax. Even now, a hyena is weighing its chances of a quick catch. Spotted hyenas are inefficient hunters, but they can pick off the young or the injured. Most healthy animals can outrun a hyena to start with, but they may not have its stamina. This wildebeest has more than enough strength to escape. And there are easier meals at hand for the hyena. Between the hyenas and the vultures, little goes to waste. As winter returns to the northern hemisphere, white storks wing their way south, riding high on the thermal currents towards Africa. The storks must migrate over land, across Israel and northwest Africa to take advantage of the heated air rising from the ground. Their journey covers 13,500 miles. At the same time, European starlings from countries east of the Baltic Sea move southwest to the Netherlands, and some to Britain. Their massed flights to their evening roosts are a spectacular aerobatic display. Traveling in a large flock can also help birds navigate. A mass of birds can maintain a more accurate sense of direction than any individual, and there is safety in the crowd from birds of prey. Insects have been migrating longer than any other animals. To this forest in Mexico, and just one or two places in the southern United States, come brilliant wintertime guests. Monarch butterflies. On 4-inch wings, they have flown nearly 2,500 miles from New England. In July, they began their journey and traveled an average of 80 miles a day. Along the way, there were only brief stops to feed and sleep. In October, this becomes a forest of butterfly trees. The monarchs cluster together, drowsy in the cool air. Only on particularly sunny days do the butterflies stir. If the winter grows too cold, thousands die. But in ordinary years, the monarchs sleep until spring and then fly back north. Known as the Wanderers, theirs is the longest directional flight made by any insect, 4,500 miles round trip. And their fall arrival here is one of the most extraordinary natural events in the world. The Greek island of Rhodes also has an annual gathering of beautiful lightweights. But these trees are cloaked in Jersey tiger moths. And these insects have traveled only a few miles from elsewhere on the island. They've come here not to escape the cold, but the summer heat. Their valley is well watered and the air moist. The moths are in no danger of dehydration here. Millions arrive at the hottest time of the year to cluster on the rocks and trees. They arrive well-fed, with plenty of reserve to see them through the month of August, when they will not eat. The valley crabs, for a few weeks, are presented with a glut of food, and are not at all discouraged by the moth's flash of scarlet hind wings. Every year, crabs cash in on their arrival. A journey across a small island can be just as vital as one that spans a continent. On Christmas Island, in the Indian Ocean, millions of animals every year take an urgent trip. The arrival of the monsoon drenches the island's 55 square miles of rainforest, home to red land crabs. All year, the crabs hide and feed in the forest, but the November rain triggers their need to mate. And for land crabs, that means a journey to the sea. Christmas Island is tiny, and the sea is not too far away. But 120 million crabs with the same desire to reproduce at once, at the beach, rapidly becomes a migrating horde of unbelievable proportions. The crabs march for days to this rugged lava coast. They must arrive within 3 days of the moon's last quarter. An internal clock synchronizes each crab with the phase of the moon and the rise of the ocean. They arrive punctually for this once-a-year event. Only female crabs enter the sea. They carry eggs already fertilized some days ago by the males in burrows on the shore. Surprisingly, they cannot swim and can even drown. So each crab hurriedly shakes out 100,000 eggs from the pouch under her tail. Crab larvae soon crowd the water, but their mission, when sufficiently developed, is to clamber onto the island and make for their rainforest home. About a month after the eggs were released, a tide of baby red crabs floods ashore. Many of their kin have satisfied the appetite of fish and other offshore animals. The survivors must undertake an enormous journey as they run for the forest. Emergencies call for evasive action. Twice, as they move on their circular migration, the wildebeest must cross the Mara River. Thousands gather apprehensively on the shore of this major obstacle. Will this youngster and his mother make it to the other side? The river is not in flood. There's been little rain in the highlands, but there is more than water to be afraid of in this river. Thirsty leaders drink under the gaze of scarcely visible eyes. The mother has brought her youngster to the shore. It's lucky, this time. The herd is now fully alert to the danger. Thousands of gazelles, zebras, and impalas join this migration. Some will face this danger and live to pass this way again. All must take their chance against the massive Nile crocodiles. forced to plunge in. With the pressure of growing numbers massing at the bank, there's little choice. An ancient drama is underway. Thousands will safely cross. A few will pay the toll to the keepers of this river. The mother and her youngster both survive to make their way toward the green plains that lie ahead, and their own abundant feast. But they will hardly be alone. Whether they seek food, a safe place to bear their young, or a haven from extreme conditions, animals forge ahead. When hundreds or even millions travel in one spectacular migration, the journey is not achieved without risk. Yet the death of some of the travelers can mean a future for their predators. And for the survivors, there may be a time of plenty, time to gather new strength before the journey begins again.